Alguém escreveu dos planetas. Como? Dar como?
Battle for Earth begins.
Anything else that might get in the way of our ideal must be destroyed immediately.
The ultimate enemy has arrived. The deadly Wolverine. Their single purpose: destroy our world.
I'm sure God would understand the steps we're taking.
Those who oppose them, die.
If this mission fails, if we are unsuccessful, we have no future.
We've had enough! Isn't it about time that people realize the ones posing the most threat are none other than yourselves?
This is not meaningless. This result is natural.
What this is war.
Commence destruction.
Now, these pirates will shake the foundations of the Alliance and change the course of history. If they can stay alive.
Those Gundam pilots are desperate. No matter even if it means forfeiting their lives. Mission accepted. Of course not.
Just like racing stars, there are bright ones, there are those that are here.
Both sides prepare for the final battle. Suit up.
Nothing good can ever come from staying with normal people.
Be very careful.
Mankind has reached the stars.
There has to be some sort of punch.
Love the women that face plastic. Those are the ones that love
Get set! And go.
but I'm surging with women. Hillary Clinton is a bigot. He would not be my first choice that I could tell.
You think you'll be in jail?
Would I approve waterboarding? You bet your ass I'd approve. And I'd bring back a hell of a lot worse than waterboarding. Go on to mama. This system is rigged!
where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I guarantee you there's no problem.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the debate. I never heard that one before.
Circuitry and metal, cold and emotionless, carry out tasks without conscience. Robots, thousands, programmed for destruction. March towards the future is coming. Man's greatest inventions, making the impossible possible, are no longer under our control.
Technological strength will just become a threat to the Earth.
This new breed of technology makes humanity obsolete. Robots, thinking, acting on their own, begin their march toward domination. These machines, built by man, serve no one. The robots among us, watching, waiting, calculate their new world order. Their time is coming. They cannot be stopped.
Attention, strange weapons are approaching. Attention, strange weapons are approaching.
With perfect weapons and superior intelligence, robots rule this planet. Let the fall of mankind give way to a new age.
This little mudball of getting doomed anyway.
Century 0079. The 1-year war rages on. Space droids against Earth dwellers.
I'm gonna drive the Xeon forces right off here.
Zeke against Betty.
Not bad for a Betty, but I bet you're not ready for this.
As both sides prepare for the final battle.
Run for it!
The secret love of two enemies may be mankind's only hope for peace.
Really? Do you believe you can still fire at the enemy?
You're no better than they are. Dig in.
right to dream. There are endless possibilities stretched out before you.
Trust in your own power.
Whatever happens from now on, you stand firm and face your destiny without fear, but with courage.
What awaits him down the path, he will then have to choose.
No one's gonna give you a map. You've gotta walk your own path.
Children leave their homes in search of this quest.
What is thy desire?
As they search, they are always asking questions. What's out there? What's waiting for me?
Why was I made? Who made me? And what did they make me for?
Are you gonna go up into space with your old man or not? Maybe I'll never get over this. I've lived my life following my dreams, and I don't have any regrets.
You're gonna just keep running away?
Just keep running away? I'm not running.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Believe in yourself and create your own destiny. Don't fear failure.
I've been doing this more than you.
Excuse me, Bob. You're excused.
I'm not your bride.
What's up, everyone? Hey. Hey, let me double check my mic is on. Pretty sure it is. Oh, yeah, there we go. Welcome to another episode. I just realized the light's not on back there. Another episode of Controlled Substance. I'm your host, Orphan. We got a good one for you tonight. We're going to be going over Taylor Marshall and his extremely Catholic presidential platform. Pretty interesting, pretty good stuff. I haven't seen anyone really put something like this together that is so bullet by bullet. I want to take a look, see what we all think. Mostly just tell you what I think, because that's what this show is for. And then see if we want to add anything, if anything we should take away. It's difficult when you're talking about changing the cultural mores of the United States. to put it down into a 12-point plan. But I read over this last night, and it seems like he's doing a pretty good job. It seems like he identified a few key issues. There's obviously some more key issues that hit the problem. Let's just say it hits the problem on the nose. Not this platform, but you could say there could be some other more pointed platforms. What am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. First off, we're going to get into the blue pill. I got a couple funny things for you and something that I've been looking into on my own time. So let's get right into it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Damn. All right. Okay, let me set up my browser here for 1 second. First thing I want to talk about is cat perverts. I don't know if you saw this trending on Twitter or not, but cat pervert is a video that seems to be going around, and it's pretty funny. So, check this out. I don't know what the context is here. I think we'll kind of figure it out as we go, but a couple is upset that their cat likes the neighbors. I don't know how this got started, how long it's been going on, literally no backstory. We're going to hop right into it.
Our cat.
You understand?
Our cat.
I'm not even in my yard right now. What am I doing? The gate's open. Hard.
You're unreasonable people. You're holding our cat.
How? I'm not even in there. I want you to explain how.
If you would go in your yard and say, Mercury, go home. Don't come in our yard anymore.
She will not listen. She's a cat. She doesn't speak English.
Oh, really? This doesn't mean go home?
No.
Huh?
Hand signals don't mean anything. It's a cat, dude.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, we'll have the police department figure it out.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Great idea.
All right. No.
Really? All right. Yeah, I guess you can't speak to cats, huh? I guess I'm the crazy one. I love this dude. Like, oh, yeah, I guess you can't. I guess nobody can talk to cats now. Guess that's just a completely unreasonable thing to say now. Oh, yeah, this doesn't mean you can't talk to cats. The dude just wants this soy jack behind the camera to get the cat out of his house, and instead he doesn't want to offend an animal or something. I don't know. I'm totally on this couple side right now.
Oh, so the cat doesn't eat and drink anything over there, right?
No.
Oh, no, never. Right? No, never.
No.
No, never.
Never. Yeah, never.
Yeah, you cat pervert.
I've done nothing to bring the cat. I've done nothing to bring the. This dude's lost. This dude, he's lost it. He's lost it.
Stop.
He's lost it.
It's our cat.
He's lost it. He's lost it. Oh no.
Come on, let's have.
On my property.
We're calling the police because you're harboring our cat.
Harboring a cat.
Cat harboring.
Is that a crime? What? It was something else.
Cat pervert.
I'm a cat pervert?
Yeah, cat
What
pervert.
crime is that? What crime is that?
You know what? There's a
Bestiality,
crime about
I think.
you harboring my cat.
What crime is that?
It's against the law.
What crime is that?
It's called harboring an animal.
I can understand being angry if my cat was in your yard. You're angry because your cat is in my yard.
You're making things a lot worse. Right? You could just send my cat home.
No, I can't.
Dude, look how close they are. People shouldn't live this close to each other. There's literally a sidewalk width in between these
You're
people.
angry because being in my yard.
Nobody should, and there's I don't know if this is one of theirs or if it's a different house, but nobody should live this close to each other. No wonder the cat is moving. This guy's upset about the cat way too hard. And then the guy behind the camera just sounds kind of like a faggot. So I don't like him just from the principle of his voice. And you got to imagine, though, like a cat's going to be crawling around. Look at all these nice Look at all these cat spots. There's even a catwalk between the two homes. You can't blame the cat here. But it's firmly within my opinion that the guy filming this is probably bestialitizing the cat. He's probably doing a little unsavoriness with the cat. Otherwise, the cat wouldn't want to go over there. Cats only go places where people perv on them. Or catnip. Maybe he's enticing them with catnip he's growing. There's so many different possibilities here, and I just thought this was a video worth sharing with you all, so you're welcome. You're welcome. Next up, I want to introduce you guys to Chris Langan. If you don't know who this man is, you need to go follow him at Real Chris Langan. He mostly just posts links to his Substack, but the backstory on this man is he's the smartest man on the planet. I'm pretty sure that's just official. He's one of the smartest, if not the smartest man on the planet. That is IQ-wise. And I've been watching... I've known about him for a while. I've been watching an interview with him recently, and it's very interesting stuff. He basically has a theory of everything where he proves that there is a God mathematically. And it sounds really autistic, and it definitely is, but the way he speaks about it when he gets away from the nomenclature and from the meat and potatoes of his argument, the way he speaks about it is very holistic, and it makes a lot of sense. So he's definitely worth checking out if you haven't heard of him before. He's got some hot takes. He's canceled, basically. He's pretty red-pilled as well. High strangeness at the Daily Wire. Big tech runs amok. Quantum computation and the church Turing thesis. Just interesting stuff. Skinwalker Ranch. I don't know, did you guys see Skinwalker Ranch on Netflix? That's a juicy one. I really enjoyed that. He's a king of clickbait. I want to read all these, but it's behind a paywall, so I haven't ponied up the dollarinos yet. There you have it. That's all the blue pills for today. We get into the meat and potatoes, so we will just do just that. All right. Taylor R. Marshall. I don't know who this guy is. This popped up on my feed the other day. Sovereign Bra says, this is Taylor Marshall's platform for president. 141,000 followers. Extremely powerful, based, and Christ-filled. And this is the platform. So we have a 12-point platform for America, Christ is King 2024 platform. We have a video where he explains it a bit more, but he says basically he's not running in 2024. But check this out. Here's the 12 points. Abortion, matrimony, pornography, human trafficking, federal holidays, Christ first, foreign policy, fighting usury, family policy, school choice, no forced medicine, and protect our children. Last but not least, consecrate America. So I think it's probably easiest to go over the YouTube video with him and then pause as we see fit, because he explains it fairly well. And honestly, I would rather him explain it than have to go through each point by point. So we're going to do that. We're going to take a look. We're going to stop and talk at some of these things, but should be a grand old time. So let's dive into it.
Happy Independence Day, 4th of July, to all my fellow Americans. And today I'm going to share with you my presidential platform in 12 points. And I have a very important announcement at the end, so I hope you'll stay with us all through the 12 points, and then I'll make a very important statement. Now, America is at a crossroads. We are seeing the destruction of natural law. What it is to be married, what it is to be a man or a woman, what it is to be human. All of that is on its way out. And unfortunately, the GOP, the Republican Party,
giant ring.
is very much moving left in that direction. If you watch the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast, we mainly talk about philosophy, theology, history, and we do talk about politics. I'm alarmed. I am not happy with who the Republicans have put up, not just for president, but for federal offices, state offices, and local offices. We're seeing an erosion in morality.
Literally nobody is.
And to name names, you see it in Trump. Yes, Trump's done some good things. We have the overturn of Roe v. Wade. But if you look at topics like marriage, there's a drift to the left. And so I've been talking about my presidential platform, and we're going to look at it.
Okay, real quick. I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of him before. It seems like he's a YouTuber, but also maybe he does something else. I don't know. It's always hard to tell with guys like this. First of all, awesome flag. I'm here for that. Second of all, he has 531,000 subscribers, only 52,000 views on this, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And frankly, I think if you're going to come out and do this, and like he says in a few here, he's not going to be running in 2024. If you're not going to be running in 2024, then don't shit on Trump. Republicans have a bad habit of punching right. And people need to be more prudent about what helps the cause as a whole. And saying that Trump isn't living up to standards, even if that's true, you shouldn't be saying that because he is the best that we have. You shouldn't be knocking down the best that we have if he's a stepping stone on the road to Catholic theocracy, you know? So, also, don't put your presidential platform out from your living room. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't think that's a hot take. Don't just set up your laptop with a open microphone box. Like, he literally just got this microphone new, has the box open down here. Don't do it. Rent a studio, or whatever. Like, just like, people need to understand optics. Optics are very important. And this is not presidential optics. It's the same way that DeSantis's Twitter announcement was such a giant flaming turd disaster because it didn't start for half an hour because they were having technical difficulties. That is the worst possible outcome. And doing things that are a risk, I understand, but they need to be risky within a certain bandwidth because you need to ensure a minimum level of optics. And I don't understand why you would do this in your living room, but it is a nice living room. It's got a good living room there.
Today, I'm going to share it with you in 12 points. Let's get right into it. Number one, a consistent position on abortion and the sanctity of human life, from conception to birth. The key to this is not debating over trimesters, months, days. It's the debate over what is a human. This is a scientific, philosophical, and yes, religious discussion, and that's okay. We must define what a human is, and we need a leader who will push on that topic. It's not about rights per se. It's not about trimesters. It's about what is human.
Because it's about the baby's rights.
That leads into presidential platform number 2.
All right, quick pause there. So if we're bringing this up again, it says abortion, 3 points here. Adopt a consistent position on abortion for GOP. Defend human life from conception to birth. No exceptions, just defending life. Okay, so this is basically an abolitionist position on abortion. And really the only debate on abortion that we should be having is exactly like you said, not trimesters, not when is it okay to abort a baby. If you're being logically consistent, it's either a human life begins at conception. It has to. That is the point where the A part and the B part mix. And from that point on, you are on a path, barring any intervention, for a child to be born. There is no other argument that I've heard that explains it away, where there's a difference, heart beating, whatever. You're talking about conception, you're talking about the parts mixing, and then the path being set. Right? All the other arguments don't make any sense. The only genuine argument that the anti-abortion or pro-abortion, what is it? Pro-choice is what they call themselves, right? The only argument in good faith that they have is, yes, this is murder. And at that point, it's like, yeah, but moms should be able to murder their children up until this point. And honestly, like, I don't know why they don't. Well, they don't take that because you're admitting that murder is okay in some instances, but it's the same thing as the death penalty. Like, murder is okay in some instances. Societally, I'm not very clear on the on the Christian dogma there, but I know that war is permitted, and so I would imagine that that capital punishment would be permitted. I'd have to look into that to be like 100% sure on that, but if I was pro-abortion, if I was pro-choice, and I used to be more this way before I started diving into Christianity a bit, but if it was me, I would say, yes, this is murder, but it is a societal necessity because our country's so broken, foster care is so broken, and you end up with these situations where it is better for the child to die than it is for them to live a fucked up life. And it's more of a greater good argument too. It's less about the child and it's more about society. Because that's really what the argument boils down to if you're being intellectually honest. It's we should never murder kids because they are human and they have no matter what their life will look like, they have the opportunity to live life. They shouldn't have that taken from them. And the opposite side should be a societal one, but people get uncomfortable with that because it's also a eugenicist argument, where if you're pro-abortion, you're basically saying that people should be able to choose when to kill their baby, like if they have an extra chromosome or mental illness or super low income. You're basically saying they should be able to do that if they want because it would be better for society to not have these disadvantaged people in the society. So, anyways, without making this entire show about abortion, I like his position here. I think that abortion should be abolished 100%. I think that nobody should be allowed to do it, not even in cases of rape, not in cases of mental retardation or whatever. I think that once conception happens, there should be no legal way to stop that pregnancy from coming to fruition. After you have the kid, and if you're an unfit mother or whatever, there are things we can decide there. But when it comes down to it, it is murdering. It is taking away the life and opportunity of a child who is innocent. And what are laws there for if not to protect innocence? All right, let's get into number 2.
And that is legally define matrimony as one man, one woman, until death do us part, period.
Divorce is now illegal.
No-fault divorce should be overturned and returned to how it was prior to California adopting the no-fault divorce policy in 1969. You may say, Taylor Marshall, this is impossible. Well, this is how it was until 1969 all across. These are new ideas that need to be overturned. If you're truly conservative, you need to conserve these principles. Any any candidate for any office who is willing to bend and twist the definition of matrimony needs to be sent out. This is part we're going to talk about at the end. What I'm going to talk about at the end is more philosophical, more big picture. It's going to fire you up. Number 3.
It's going to fire you up. All right, so check this out. Matrimony, platform number 2. Defend the sanctity of marriage in America. Restore one man, one woman till death do us part. Overturn no-fault divorce. What is the definition of no-fault divorce? Because I hear it thrown around a lot, and I think I understand it, but I don't have the actual definition. No-fault divorce is the dissolution of a marriage that does not require a showing of wrongdoing by either party. Laws providing for no-fault divorce allow a family court to grant a divorce in response to a petition by either party of the marriage without requiring the petitioner to provide evidence that the defendant has committed a breach of the marital contract. Okay. So no-fault divorce is basically if either one of the married parties just feels like they want to not be married anymore, they can. And that's crazy. I didn't realize that this was not the law until he said 1969. It says with law adopted in 1969, California became the first U.S. state to permit no-fault divorce. Australia established it in 1975. So it sounds like in Canada effectively permitted no-fault divorce in 1986. So within that 10-year period, basically, is when it kind of became global. Marriage is taken far too lightly in our country. And so I completely agree with this. And I also agree with the implicit statement here that gay marriage should be banned. All gay marriage does, it doesn't stop people from being gay. It just normalizes the gay community, which is marginal and a very small part of the population. And it doesn't, it literally is just a moral victory for liberals. It doesn't do anything for our country except for hurt it, except for normalize something that is unhealthy for our country, particularly in a Christian society. So ban gay marriage, ban sodomy are implicit within this, and then and no-fault divorce. So you need to raise the requirement for people to get divorced. And divorce is an interesting one because culturally, you really need to be attacking this from the cultural perspective. And I think this platform as a whole would kind of do that. But culturally, it needs to be less okay. Ooh, my nose. Societally, it needs to be less okay to get divorced. It's a given that anyone can get divorced if they just don't feel like it anymore. And that's not how it has been, and it's not how it is in a lot of places around the world. And in those places, you see much, much better outcomes from families who, even in arranged marriages are like 90%, like 10% get divorced or something, rather than the 50-60% that we have in America. And it just really fucks up kids. So we need to do everything that we can to keep people together. And honestly, people need to kind of sack up. People need to man up and not get divorced. It's ridiculous. And the reasons you hear for it are also crazy. And a lot of it's from birth control too. A lot of women are on birth control. They get off birth control after they're married to have kids. Then they realize they picked the wrong mate because their pheromones are working all of a sudden. Their hormones are back working. And then they fall completely out of attraction with their soy boy husband that they married. And even in that case, you shouldn't be permitted to get divorced. You need to live with your choices, and you need to kind of buckle down, because that's where true happiness and true fulfillment comes from, not from bailing don't bail. It's just a choice that you make. Attraction's a huge lie. It's like a Disney. It's like a princess fairy tale. You're not going to be attracted to who you're married with forever. It comes in and out, you know. That's what I've heard, anyways. I love my wife. I don't even know if she's watching. Usually she watches, but I haven't seen her chat. If she's not watching, then I hate my wife. If she is watching, then I love her. It's a very conditional arrangement that we have, but we're not going to get divorced, and that's kind of the final point I've got here. Moving on.
Presidential campaign. Pornography must be banned and blocked. You may say, that's impossible, President Taylor Marshall. Japan has a policy. We have the technology to do it. And yet, for some reason, pornography is not regulated, not blocked, not banned. We know that exposure to pornography raises divorce rates, raises abuse rates, raises molestation rates, raises every negative rate, depression rates, drug use rates.
Gay.
And yet,
he didn't do it.
We do nothing about it. It's really encouraging, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, to see the human sex trafficking efforts to stop that. But part of that needs to be the banning and the blocking of the horrible epidemic, pandemic of pornography. Japan is doing it. We can do it. Number 4.
Yes. 100% agree with them on this point. He seems to be neglecting to say that gays are a huge problem as well. I'm sure that's tactical or whatever, but it makes people gay. It legitimately does. Pornography does nothing but ruin society. It's arguable even that it's like a psyop. Because if you look at who owns all of the porn companies, there's a very specific tribe of people that own all of the porn companies. One that has a vested interest in keeping the American power under as much control as possible. And this kind of gets into the heart of the issue, and something more that needs to be, if a platform like this is going to be enacted, it needs to be addressed. The whole transportation department situation needs to be addressed, because whoever is perpetuating these things needs to stop perpetuating. Like, they need to be ousted from power, or else you're gonna fight tooth and nail the entire way. And pornography is a big one. Pornography is not it is not a Christian thing to do. There aren't any Christian pornographers, despite our country being 70% Christian. I mean, think about it. Right? Why is porn allowed in our country when we are a 70% Christian country? Someone's making a lot of money off it, and a lot of people are just falling into their passions. So, if you're more concerned about that, or if you're more interested in that, I encourage you to look at, one, who owns these porn companies and who benefits off this. Morally, think about what implications this has on the fabric of a society, and what implications this has for the productivity, the masculinity of a society. And then you can also just straight up look at, like, who's making money. None of it is good. It's all negative, and it's all negative at the cost of or at the expense of morality, and it's because it's pleasurable. Like, people have such little discipline these days that they're very unlikely to give up something they don't have to. So someone, and this is the government's job, is to come in and like give that up for them because they need to. All right, next up.
Federal agencies should not be spending their time monitoring traditional Catholic parishes or pro-lifers. Federal agencies, their number one top priority in the United States of America should be ending human trafficking.
I want to narrow in on this a little bit because it's really important. He kind of flies by it. He says that the government shouldn't be targeting Catholics. And you might be thinking to yourself, wait, the government doesn't target Catholics? Like, what are you talking about? Christians don't get persecuted. But some of you may not have heard that they are infiltrating actively Catholic churches because of the right-wing extremism that is festering at these places. They're accurately diagnosing the fact that these are the enemies to liberalism because, devout Christians are the enemies of liberalism. They always have been. Only now, for whatever reason, is it acceptable to target these people with the weaponized DOJ and with the alphabet letter companies. They are sending in and creating informants within Catholic churches as a large priority, like a terrorism priority for the CIA. And that's crazy. When's the last time you heard of a Catholic school shooter? Despite what they want you to believe, right? It's like black people are far and kill like multiple times more people in gang violence, which doesn't get classified as a mass shooting, even though they oftentimes are. This is completely ignored because it sows chaos. Well, what is not ignored is the potential for a moral, zealous group of Christians to speak out and put forward a platform like this. So, anyways, him saying that is not without reason. There is an attack on traditional Christians in this country, and it is being investigated by the CIA and FBI.
At our borders and within our states. That's the number one. We should be ending that. We should be policing that. We should 10x our efforts and our budgets on that instead of wasting time policing upstanding citizens.
Yep.
Number 5.
All right. Talking about the real meat of the matter here, ending human trafficking. This gets back to the same kind of pornography problem. It's like, okay, why are there such obvious, blatant evils that seemingly never get taken care of? Well, it's because of corruption. And you can't solve these problems just by saying we need to end child sex trafficking. You need to solve these problems by identifying who is doing the child sex trafficking and then kick them out of our fucking country, Like, we went over this a couple weeks ago. Videos like mine get completely scrubbed for the China flu. The China flu jab, misinformation. They get scrubbed actively. I had 6 subscribers at the time, and they were... I got a warning because I talked about the wrong thing. I reviewed that Joe Rogan podcast. So that is the level of scrutiny that is continuing to happen for political dissidents. Meanwhile, over on Facebook and Instagram, they get caught doing nothing about hundreds and hundreds of thousands, millions of pedophiles buying and selling actively pedophilic material on their platform. There's no bot scrubbing for pedophile stuff. If it is, it's a terrible bot. They've done a terrible job at scripting that bot for some reason. Meanwhile, if you talk about any sort of quote unquote misinformation against the WHO or whatever, it's like, well, time to get your YouTube banned. And this just illustrates where their priorities are at. So it is no coincidence that this is not a priority. This has not been taken care of. one, elites like this stuff for whatever sick reason. They've been overloaded with power and money, and this is the only way they can get their sick kicks off. Or they're just straight up making money from it. Or, in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, they're blackmailing other political leaders with it. There's a whole industry built around this, and it is not benign, and it is no coincidence that it's not being persecuted to the full extent of the law. Quite the opposite. Something like Pizzagate comes out, or anything similar, even the Instagram, Facebook stuff. It's like, whoops. Oh, sorry, guys. Oh man, that's crazy. How'd that get through our algorithm? Oh, yeah, we're gonna take care of that right away. Story gets dropped forever. So, this is great. Obviously, we want this to end, but this needs to end. This needs to end in the same way that pornography needs to end, because the incentive structure is wrong. The people in power need to be ousted from power because they just cannot be trusted to stop doing these things. I think about prohibition. I think about drugs in Chicago. The government has always made a pretty penny by not fully solving the problem and then kind of putting their foot on the gas, putting their foot on the brake, and kind of easing their way. Same with war. You know, all these objectively evil things all have a profit incentive behind them. And so you either need to take away the profit incentive or you need to get rid of the people. Nothing short of that will really solve that problem. So, anyways, I agree with Dr. Taylor Marshall here, but wanted to add a little extra flavor there, because the problem is bigger than just saying, I can't believe we haven't stopped it yet. You know, there's a reason why it hasn't been stopped yet. You can't tell me that if we put this as priority number one, that we couldn't stop human sex trafficking, probably globally, with our military force. But they don't want it to happen, so that's why it doesn't. All right, next point.
As president, I would move for the federal recognition of Sunday as a holy day for Christians. 52 Sundays a year would be federally recognized as a holy day for Christians. And then I would also move for the recognition of 10 more federally recognized holy days for Christians. And these 10 federal days would be 3 days at Christmas. Christians would have a federal holiday for December 24th, Christmas Eve, December 25th, Christmas, and December 26th, St. Stephen's Day.
Nice.
The additional 7 days would be the 4-day weekend for Easter. Good Friday is a holy day. Easter Monday, a holy day. So that's actually, 2 extra days, because Saturday and Sunday are already off. And then these additional days recognized as holy days for Christians. January 1st, the octave of Christmas, also known as the circumcision or Mary, Mother of God. January 6th, the Epiphany of Christ. August 15th, the Assumption of Mary. November 1st, the Feast of All Saints. And December 8th, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. These would be federally recognized holy days for Christians under my presidency. Number 6.
All right, check this out. Oh, wrong tab. There we go. Federal holidays. Just like you said, 10 more Christian holidays. And if this was me, I would also take away some of the dog shit holidays that we have. Primarily being Juneteenth and MLK Day. MLK was a rapist, and that's not cool. So that would also be a little extra bullet point I'd put here, but I like this. It's not about making an extra holiday for everyone. Not everyone needs a holiday. The federal holidays should be for the majority of the country. And we are overwhelmingly a majority Christian country at this moment. With immigration, they're trying to quickly change that, but this just makes sense. This is just nice. I don't think this needs to be on a platform necessarily. It's not like a hard-hitting thing. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, shit, I get an extra 2 days off for for the Epiphany and for Immaculate Conception. I'm changing my vote. So I don't think this is a linchpin thing, but it's a good idea at least. I would probably swap this out for something with a little bit more teeth on it. But what can you do? What can you do? I like the idea.
6, foreign platform. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, we're now about halfway there. Give it a thumbs up, like it, share it all over Facebook and Twitter. Let's get people watching it and thinking about these points. And make sure you subscribe to get more here.
Okay. This guy is so funny. You can't be given your presidential platform, and we'll get into it later. He's not actually running for president. But you can't give your presidential platform and then ask to like, subscribe, and share in the in the middle of it from your house with the microphone you just bought, the box in the bottom right. This thing is so distracting. So, I mean, like, I'm here for this guy's platform, but, dude, just step up the presidentiality a little bit, you know? All right, back into
the Dr. Taylor Marshall podcast. All right, number 6, foreign platform. Instead of just thinking of our foreign alliances as based on war, violence, and economics, I would add that the primary alliances between nations would be moral alliances. So we would form moral alliances with those nations who promote family, tradition, the recognition of property, and Christian values. For example, nations like Poland, nations like Hungary would be our primary moral alliances with diplomatic relationships. Because you see, there's a battle in globalism to gobble up everything.
Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to cut this guy off. I'm going to grab something real quick. All right, check this out. I'm right here. Don't worry, I'm right here. Look what I got. The Official Polish Joke Book by Larry Wilde. The one, the only. Notice also how the Italian joke book is right side up, and the Polish joke book is upside down. Nice little touch there. So I just want to read a couple excerpts from this gem of a book. We're just going to flip up to a random page, probably one with a picture. Did you hear about the... Did you hear about the Polak terrorist who was told to blow up a bus and burned his lips on the exhaust pipe? Here, I need a sound clip.
What the hell?
You can't keep getting away
All right,
with it!
right. Let's do another one. Man, some of these don't make sense. When was this book written? Over 4 million copies sold? You gotta be kidding me, man. How can you tell which house on the street belongs to a Polak? It's the only one in the entire neighborhood with crabgrass in the living room.
What the hell?
Anyways, that's enough. That's enough of that. We just shouldn't be. We shouldn't be maybe modeling our government after Poland. Is all that book's trying to say. Not me though. I like Poland.
So just as in our personal lives, we need to stand with those who have the same beliefs and convictions. Same also on the global scale. We need to look out and see who are the nations who are aligned with us on these principles. Related to this 6th point on my foreign platform, we would also put a priority on protecting Christians in foreign lands who are under persecution. For example, the bishops and the clergy in China. We would give much more attention to that. Also, for example, the martyred priests and bishops in Nigeria. We would televise this, expose it, and assist those people. This is all part of our alliance with like-minded nations. My presidential platform, point number 7, would be to address...
Oops. I don't have much of a point there. I think it's good that we ally with... I think we should definitely ally with more along moral lines than along geostrategic lines. Obviously, both need to be taken into account, but the whole reason that our alliance with Israel is such dog shit is because they don't care about us at all. We give them billions of dollars a year. There is no strategic reason for that, and then they turn around and lie to us with their, intel. The reason that this alliance is so important is because there's a lot of money being facilitated, a lot of money transfer happening. It's just about greed. But if you're a true Christian or if you believe in any sort of morality, you can't run your life or the country or the world by greed. You have to run it by morality. So, I think that's a great point, and I think that there's a lot of fruit that could come from that. A lot of fruit that may or may not be on the forefront of people's mind. A lot when you start living your life morally, a lot of good things happen to you. God takes care of you. And imagine that on a personal scale. A lot of people understand that on a personal scale, but imagine that on a global scale. Start living morally as a country. What kind of fruit can come from that? Sounds pretty awesome. Back to it.
The horrible situation in America would be to address the horrible situation in America as it regards usury. We see this with college students. We see this in the inner cities with payday loans. We see this with credit card rates, young people having to go into bankruptcy. It is unjust. It is wrong. And so there would be a banning on usurious institutions like payday car loans, and then also restrictions on the amount of rates that can be charged for silly things like credit cards. Presidential campaign number.
All right. This is an important one. And honestly, I know this dude's not actually running, but this is the first time I've ever heard anyone put together a political campaign that has usury on it and 100% agree. I'm no economist, so maybe someone watching this can answer me this, or someone who watches this on the VOD. But what are the implications if the United States bans usury outright, stops using any sort of means of debt, or like we would need to change the deficit, right? I don't even know how that would even start to look. On a country level, it's probably different than on a citizen level, but at least you could start to go after credit card companies, banks, the Federal Reserve, and start to clean that shit up, because it is really crazy. Usury is a terrible thing, and you shouldn't be forced to live in a society predicated on usury as a Christian. That shouldn't be forced upon you. It's pretty anti-Semitic from Dr. Taylor Marshall, but, he said it and I didn't. You know who else said it?
It's just us talking about killing each other and Jewish people getting paid off of it.
Ye said something about it.
8. As president, I would introduce President Viktor Orban's policy for the family in Hungary. Just as earlier I mentioned, we need to end pornography, and people will say that's impossible. Japan's working on it. Just as we want to look at family policies, people will say that's impossible. Hungary's doing it. I suggest that we simply copy and paste what Hungary is doing in their country, and then we sow and then reap the benefits that Hungary is experiencing right now. So what's going on in Viktor Orban's Hungary?
Yeah.
Here are some of the just examples of the pro-family policies that are being promoted and legalized in Hungary. For example, newly married couples receive together an allowance per month for 24 months after marriage to promote matrimony.
Of $100,000.
Another one is a family housing benefit can be required by married couples for used or newly built houses and apartments based on various rates of having 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more children.
Nice.
A maternity benefit is equal in Hungary to 225% of the minimal pension at the time of the birth. So they are promoting not just marriage, not just making things economically advantageous for marriage, but also for the conception and the nurture of children. See, they're putting a priority on family and new life, new citizens. Now you might say to me, well, that's unfair. You can't. In America, we do it all the time. Right now, there are all kinds of federal benefits for all kinds of people. Last month was June. Go walk around the nation's capital or any mall or any stadium and ask yourself, are people being federally and socially benefited because of their identity? The answer is heck yeah. So why not provide social and economic benefits for what matters most? Family, life, which, by the way, benefits society in the short term and in the long term. Other advantages in Viktor Orban's Hungary: parents of one child have 2 extra paid vacation days. Parents of 2 children get 4, and so on. And then this is an interesting policy that Hungary's promoted. I'll just make this the last one. There's many more. But there's a special policy for grandmothers and for their involvement in the life of their children. You see, instead of the government federally subsidizing something like daycare, where children are at danger and at risk, emotionally, physically, sexually, etc.
Yeah, they're gonna get raped.
Hungary's saying, you know what, let's equip those in subsidiarity closest to that child, the maternal grandmother and her presence in that baby's life. That's good. That's wholesome. You see, in Hungary, they're thinking about these things. In America, we're not even there yet. We'll throw around food stamps and government housing and all that, but we're not thinking about how we can actually supercharge the family and create an environment for infants and small children to thrive. This would be a major part of my presidential campaign.
And we just got to stop kids from getting raped at daycare. That's crazy. And also, what are they doing in Hungary? I don't even know that much about Hungary. I should deep dive into that and see, because it sounds pretty fucking based over there. It sounds like they're doing something right. You got to be worried about being called a Nazi or whatever, because these type of policies were initially, World War II Europe, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of these policies kind of turning things around there in the pretzel country. But I love this. I think that this, if I was to pick any one of these 12 points in this platform, this would be the one, and it solves all other problems. It does, because within this you can also disincentivize divorce without changing no-fault divorce. You can fold. You can lower pornography inclination from good parenting and nuclear families. Excuse me. You can. A lot of things, almost everything, flows from the family, and it makes perfect sense. Like, when you're raising new citizens, like he said, and that's a great way to think about children, not just as tiny adults, but as new citizens for the country you're trying to build. If you're thinking about these new citizens, you need to protect them and foster them. And he gets into a point in a second here, I'm not sure if it's the next one or not, but about school choice for families. We need to give more power to families who are doing things correctly, who are doing things wholesomely, who are doing things in the context of a Christian society. It all starts within the family. The family dissolving through divorce and through, people essentially being incentivized by welfare to, there's a certain group of people that is like 8 out of 10 don't have dads, and a lot of them are really good at rapping, but rapping does not count for the same societally as having a family that raises a wholesome child. So I think that if I was to pick one platform, one of these points in this platform, this would be the one, because so much flows from proper incentives and proper family structure. And there are so many things. The government spending is so crazy that just all useless, all go to benefit people other than us. You know how much tax money the U.S. government takes in? Not a single penny of it goes back to keeping families together, keeping moms at home to raise their kids, keeping grandmothers involved. Like, that's so good. I bet in Poland they probably incentivize the grandfathers to not be involved. Something opposite. It's a good little joke there. All right, let's keep going.
My presidential campaign platform point number 9 is school choice. Incentives for school choice. Parents, not
incentives for drool choice.
Counties, not states, and not the federal government, should be those who elect and choose the form and the nature of the education for their children. If you're a Catholic, your children should be educated in a Catholic way with your Catholic values, your Catholic beliefs. That's how Catholics, how Christians, and I use that as the same way, have believed for 2,000 years. The idea that you're going to pay money to a third-party entity that is then going to teach your children to disbelieve and reject what you are teaching them, and then what you are paying for, is absolutely ludicrous. And this is why Catholics should move for, and I as president would move for, radical school choice. So that the tax money you pay into the school.
Radical school choice is pretty sick too. I just imagine there's like a whole block, and it's like normal school, like Hey Arnold school, cartoon recess school, and you have like the Rocket Power school. The Rocket Power school has like a fucking half pipe, and it's like radical school choice, bro. Everyone has like long hair and wearing helmets, T-posing on each other, rollerblades. Radical school choice.
System either equips you to be a better homeschooler, equips you for the parochial system, for charter schools, or whatever we can make available. My presidential campaign, point number 10, there are 12, so we're getting there. No forced medical treatments, which would include injections for children to go to school, for employment, or for military service. And that would extend to any other experimental pharmaceutical that would be introduced. People have a right over their own bodies, and you cannot punish them economically or educationally by making these rules that we've been experiencing over the last several years.
Yeah, people have a right to their own bodies unless they want to chop their own dicks off. And then we got to say, hey, we're going to stop you right there, Mr., Mrs., whatever. We're going to stop you right there. Keep your dick. If you want to get something chopped off, steal an item with your dick near the Taliban or something, you know? Wrap your We need to get back to tradition. We need if I didn't want my hand, I'll go steal something in the Middle East. If you don't want your dick, you go steal something with your dick in the Middle East, and they have to chop it off so you don't do it anymore, you know? Why can't we need to return to tradition. Incredible.
Point number 11 in my presidential platform for the campaign: no elective surgeries, no tattoos, no alcohol, no cigarettes for minors under 18. Now, my main concern here are the surgeries, because we know what's being debated in all 50 states right now. I don't have to be specific because you know what we're talking about here. But that also has to include other elements like tattoos or alcohol. We have to, as a society, accept that those under 18 cannot make life-altering decisions regarding substances or permanent changes to their bodies.
Unless they're getting married, and then it should be like...
And then finally, number 12, as President of the United States of America, I would move for a formal consecration of the United States of America, led by bishops, hopefully cardinals, hopefully a pope, a public consecration of the United States to Christ the King, which is why I named this platform in these 12 points as the Christ the King platform. And of course, there's many other things as president I would do. I would begin each day in the White House with scripture reading.
Okay, so he goes on to talk a little bit more about He goes on to talk more about himself and presidency, about whatever, about his situation. I'll summarize it for you here, basically saying that he talked to people. They said that it won't be possible to get on this year's ballots, or the 2024 ballots. So he's maybe thinking about 2028. I don't know. I mean, I would like him to keep pushing, because at the very least, if he stops talking negatively about Trump or about whoever else is leading the party, as long as they're cool to some extent, basically just Trump. These are great ideas to have in the town square. These are things that people need to start thinking about, and they need to start thinking about them in a way that is not tainted by the media as far as it can be. This guy needs to be out trying to get interviews, trying to get the ideas out there, trying to, take over social media, whatever, because it's a strong platform. I mean, I think that there's a few things here that here, let me pull them up, actually. There's a couple things here that I would add, and I'm working on like a different version of this because I think it's a really good idea. These easily digestible points need to be brought into the mainstream. They need to be normalized to talk about a religious-based United States. Okay. So here's a few things. So a few things that I think that should be probably substituted. Federal holidays is nice, but this doesn't need to be on your main platform. This can be a sub-platform or something auxiliary that you push for. So I think there needs to be some form. Imagine a Catholic. Imagine a Catholic president does get into office, and not a joke Catholic like Biden, but like a real Catholic, seemingly like this guy. If it's within the near future, we need a federal investigation into both COVID and the Trump 2020 election. Both of those were basically high treason. Those were both extremely damaging to our country, to our election process, to public health, and they both need to be investigated and persecuted to the full extent of the law. Obviously, that won't happen if anyone currently gets into president, because they benefit from the system. They benefit from the gains of that. But those are both things that need to be taken seriously. Everyone wants to just move on from COVID. Everyone just wants to pretend like it never happened, like they didn't malign us, try and take away our freedom, make us wear masks, change the rules on us every week, force us to get vaccines at the threat of losing our jobs, our positions. I can't believe that more people aren't upset about that. Like, there needs to be a formal apology and a formal investigation into that, because it was so out of pocket. It was so fucked up, honestly, that I don't think that we can move forward as a country. Not that we're unified right now, but if the goal is to move forward as a unified country, you can't do that with COVID hanging over your head, or with the election that everyone either got gaslit into believing that it was not stolen, or still holds to their guns and believes it was stolen, because that was suspicious as hell. These are two issues, and there are many more issues that need to be aired out if our country's going to ever come back together again. Another platform that I would put in here is social media censorship, big tech, monopolies. This is another systemic issue that if you solve this, a lot of other problems kind of solve themselves. I would put this up there with family policy, with incentives for newly married and nuclear families. Because you're talking about, we now have an alternative to mainstream media. And social media needs to be protected as a human right. You need your right to free speech to extend to you wherever a town square can feasibly be argued for. Because if not, then we don't have free information. and there needs to be regular inquiries into how these companies are being run, because we need a platform, we need a place where we can have free speech in a global internet information age. That and a proper family structure will solve. And how many problems would that solve? Imagine if those things were truly taken care of, and they were reconstitutionalized in a way that fit with the original intention of the Constitution. That would change a lot. A lot would flow from those. And then the third point that I would probably add in here as well, before our foreign policy, honestly, is we need to end immigration, all immigration, and then we need to deport a huge amount of illegal immigrants that have been allowed to reside in our country, because these people don't ever assimilate. We see this in France, and Trump has been talking about this as well. It's like they don't ever assimilate. They come in and they change you. You don't change them. And especially now that more and more crazy amounts of them are getting funneled into our country is changing to them. They're not changing to us. And I know it's a nice little pipe dream to think that immigrants come and they can achieve the American dream, and some of them do, but it's very, very few. It's very, very few, and you can tell this by their voting, by their spending habits. You can tell it by all of the traditional demographic metrics that you would look at. They all indicate that immigrants don't assimilate. They bring their country, and then they colonize our country with their ideas. So those were some things that I would add in, but overall, like I think it's a pretty good platform. Like I really like that someone's out there talking about this stuff. Even the fact that it's just being talked about. This is the same reason why I like RFK. I don't like RFK. I would never vote for him for president. But what I do like is that I do like that he's not afraid to tackle certain issues or talk about certain issues, and he is smart and he is well spoken. Although he's well spoken seemingly through an earthquake tube. But if you can get over that, he's got good thoughts, good ideas. And he's bringing something very interesting to the platform or to the political conversation. So I think a platform like this does nothing but good. I love to see it. I'm going to start talking about it more. I want to write my own because I think that this is a good first step, but I think that there's more key issues here that we can kind of narrow in on. And perhaps there's another route to market this that isn't like a Catholic America. That would be the goal. The goal is like a Christian, Orthodox, Catholic America. But I've been thinking a lot about how to market these type of things. And the JQ is a big one as well. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. But the JQ is such a hot button issue. I think you can get a lot of I think you can negate a lot of the JQ power by focusing in on very certain issues and preemptively saying they're going to try and do this. That was one of the great things I saw about Tate when he had his response to the BBC interview. He called his shot, and that means that now whenever they try and follow through on the shot that he called, he's going to have something to point to. And I think they're predictable enough that you could easily say, like, this is our policy, we're pushing for this, and then preemptively say, hey, the opposition is going to try and do this, watch for it. And then when they do try and do that, you're just vindicated. Your position gets stronger. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of patterns emerging that we can start to kind of game. So, been thinking about that a little bit. Anyways, I just want, the thing that I like the most about this, and I'll wrap up here, is that this is a man who is out there with a 12-point vision for how the country could look. Anyone can take a look at this. They can look at 12 points. They can imagine each of these points. What would our country look like if I just got married? What if I got paid a $1,000 stipend every month just for getting married? And then, an extra $250, an extra $500 if we have a kid. You can imagine that. That's so easy to imagine. And it's even easier to have some hope attached to that, you know? You look at everything going on, you look at all the ills, you look at everyone completely messing up our country, and you're like, what do I do about it? Well, here's a guy with 12 things. Like, this is possible. This is hope. This is a new vision for America. If you have someone who is out there who is a serious contender, charismatic, talking about things like this rather than complaining about the broken system, people will rally behind it. I guarantee it. I guarantee it, because when I saw this, I was like, oh, man, that's awesome. This is what I've been thinking about for a while. Like, I just want someone to tell me, like, hey, what could our country look like? Tell me you're going to fix it. This is why people like Trump so much. He did a very similar thing. So, anyways, that is enough for today, guys. Thank you all for being here. Another classic show. Wednesday the 12th. Tomorrow we'll be back. On Thursday, we'll be back not only for Controlled Substance, my show, right here, right now, 5 p.m. PST. We'll also be back Young with his Young Content Show. He's got a big guest. Check out his Twitter to, you know what? Let me pull it up just so I don't sell it short. Never mind. I don't know why it's not pulling up. Young has a great show at 2. We're doing Game Seller at 2:30 tomorrow. These are both PST. And then I'm doing my show again tomorrow evening at 5. So see you guys there. Thank you all for being here. Keep America Christian, you know what I mean? Keep America Christian again. All right, later, guys. Have a good one.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
It's just us talking about killing each other and Jewish